So, we got a double dose of Spider-Man news at CinemaCon. That's right. And we finally got a title for Spider-Man 4. No, not the one with Tobey Maguire. Maybe one day. No, this is for the Tom Holland Spider-Man 4. And this comes to us via The Hollywood Reporter. The movie is going to be called Spider-Man Brand New Day. That's right. Now, speaking of Tobey Maguire, to paraphrase him a little bit, recently I was going through some old comics, and that title seemed a little bit familiar to me.
Familiar because it's literally exactly the same?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
So, the film is titled Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, in the comic books, Brand New Day is the title of a Spider-Man comic book storyline that ran from January through July 2008, and it followed the controversial One More Day storyline, and that story was one of the main inspirations for Spider-Man No Way Home. So it does feel kind of natural that, okay, they did kind of One More Day, let's follow it up with the next story in the comics. Now, in the Brand New Day comics, it retconned a lot of Peter Parker's history, where his marriage to Mary Jane Watson never happened. Harry Osborn was brought back to life because he had been killed off years ago. And everyone had forgotten that Peter Parker is Spider-Man because right before One More Day, he had publicly revealed his identity in the Civil War storyline. And one thing that this storyline gave us, that fans of the video game will love, is that this storyline introduced the villain Mr. Negative. Now, they also revealed the logo of the movie, and that one is actually a bit different from the other Spider-Man movies in the Tom Holland series. So we have Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is set to be released on July 31st, 2026. Now, first of all, I really like this font. And a lot of people are pointing out online, something looks pretty familiar about the logo. Something looks pretty familiar because if you think of that font, if you look at the merchandise or comics of Spider-Man from the late 2000s, there's the font logo right there, Spider-Man right there. So,
yeah,
if you grew up loving Spider-Man in the late 2000s, they really knew how to play to you.
Yeah.
So, we have that. And this movie, unlike the other three Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, this one's being directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who also directed the Marvel movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and was going to direct Avengers the Kang Dynasty. By the way, how excited are you to see Avengers Kang Dynasty? Because it was supposed to come out tonight.
Oh.
Today was the day it was supposed to come out.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yes, so he talked about how at CinemaCon he has always been a fan of Spider-Man and has been drawn to Peter Parker's humor and messy humanity. And Cretton described the movie as a ride that we haven't really seen before. Now, Tom Holland, he wasn't there because he's filming Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey movie, but he did send a video message to the audience. And this comes to us via Variety. He said, "I know we left you with a massive cliffhanger at the end of No Way Home. So Spider-Man Brand New Day is a fresh start. It is exactly that. That's all I can say." Now, when they announced the Brand New Day title, it did kind of get a little mixed reactions, and I can understand the people who don't like the title, who are nervous because of the title, because the Brand New Day storyline was the beginning of the Dan Slott era of Spider-Man, which I personally was not a fan of. There's some good stuff that came out of it. Spider-Verse clearly was one of them, but I don't think the movie's going to be a direct adaptation of that storyline. I think maybe the only thing they'll take is Mr. Negative, but I think when you look at what Tom Holland has to say, that what I love about this title is that it shows that this Spider-Man has a fresh start, and that is something that the character really needed, because, I mean, I think it's the case for you. I know it's a case for a lot of people, and maybe you can talk about it too. But like, as someone who did not like the first two Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, it felt like Homecoming people kind of gave a pass to, but really Far From Home, it felt like it lost a lot of people. Like the issues about him being an Iron Man knockoff, that really solidified it. But then No Way Home really brought it back to the core of who Peter Parker is. And this feels like an exciting new fresh era for the character. I honestly don't even think of it as Spider-Man 4. To me, this is the start of a new Spider-Man series that just also happens to have Tom Holland and is kind of a continuation, but really this is the start of a new era. It's kind of like when a new comic book writer comes on to write The Amazing Spider-Man. And Daniel Destin Cretton, I think that's his name, Destin Daniel Cretton. He did Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and I'll be honest, I didn't love that movie. But it was more of a case of like this just wasn't for me. But I watched it, and even though I didn't like it, I'm just like, you know what? I see potential in this kid. I see potential, and so, while I didn't really like the overall movie, the stuff, like the personal stuff between Shang-Chi and his dad, and really the human side of the movie, I think that he did a really good job. So I'm really excited to see what he'll do with Spider-Man. It's really an exciting fresh start. And to me, look, I know a lot of people are super hyped for Avengers Doomsday. For me, this is the Marvel movie I'm most excited for coming out next year. So I cannot wait. So what do you think about what we got from CinemaCon about Spider-Man? We don't call it Spider-Man 4 anymore. It's Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yes, Brand New Day. Well, yeah, all I can really, like, as much as I liked No Way Home, I think it kind of worked for me in spite of all of the things that I wouldn't think would work. I think that this Spider-Man 4, whoops, I called it Spider-Man 4 again, Brand New Day, I think that this will be a real test, because, I mean, they've got to make their kind of biggest character work. They've got to... It says Brand New Day. I really hope they're taking that as, like, establishing what Spider-Man and then therefore kind of Marvel movies are from now on, like a rebrand. I'm skeptical based on some of the previous decisions that we've seen that they're really gonna do that. Anytime I mean, again, No Way Home was entertaining and good and all, but anytime I have like a hope for where they're gonna take Spider-Man, those hopes are always dashed. They're not gonna do a slightly lower stakes friendly neighborhood Spider-Man type of movie under like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
They?
I feel like that's what I want. I mean, again, I'm not as familiar with these stories that it may be based on, but my hope is something like that, and it will be a real test, because if it is like that, I'll be really excited. If it's more of the same, then I may be too worn out.
More like the John Watts trilogy.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. So now, we'll open up this rabbit hole, shall we? Let's open up this rabbit hole. So, Spider-Man Brand New Day is coming out at an interesting time. It's coming out right after Avengers Doomsday and right before Avengers Secret Wars. So that's the movie between the two Avengers movies. A lot of people are wondering When does this movie take place? Will it take place before Doomsday, or will it take place the same time as Doomsday? And there are some rumors that the reason. Do you know about the cast announcement they did for Avengers Doomsday?
Or you're just referring to like what we talked about in an episode with the Robert Downey Jr.
No, the
and stuff?
chairs.
Maybe.
Oh, they
about
did
that?
such a stupid thing where they announced like 15 cast members, okay? And instead
Okay.
of doing a 1 minute video that would have broken the internet, they dragged it out all day. Where every 15 minutes they revealed a new name and the camera panned to like the back of a chair with their name.
Wow.
So there was that. And let me tell you, I thought it was stupid, but I'm not going to lie. Did I have YouTube open the whole day to check? Yes, I did. And you could tell when they were going to move the camera over because they would start playing music. But like,
That's weird. Okay.
yeah. So, you know what? I went there to see if Spider-Man was going to be in it, and he wasn't listed.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that because Spider-Man's not, so far, one of the announced characters for Avengers Doomsday, which is a bit shocking when you're doing this whole gimmick of bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to play Doctor Doom, who else is going to have more of a connection to that than Spider-Man? So, do you think that this movie will take place before Doomsday, or do you think that, like what some people speculate online, that happens at the same time, and that's why Spider-Man isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of did that with Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it was more towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But like, do you think it'll be its own thing, or is it part of the Doomsday Secret War storyline?
Yeah, I mean, my instinct at first would just be like, I think they just haven't announced it yet, and they're just like stringing out. But then, like hearing the whole chair thing and how big of a deal they made out of that, it does make me maybe lean more towards maybe there's a reason for that timeline wise. So, yeah, I could see it being timeline-wise at the same time.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth on it because I kind of think, like, I mean, scheduling-wise, it would make sense, but I'm just like, do you want to kind of do two big things like that back-to-back?
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you want to kind of... Because what they did with Ant-Man and the Wasp was people talked about how it was kind of a refresher. We had big Infinity War. Then we had little Ant-Man with little stakes, and then big Endgame. Would they want to do that again? I don't know. But maybe you could do something cool of because I'm guessing that because people don't know who Spider-Man is anymore, or Peter Parker, that maybe he's not a member of the Avengers anymore. So maybe you could do something cool of like, the Avengers is having this big battle with Doctor Doom. What is kind of the reaction of like all this stuff to like the average person in Marvel, and you see it through Spider-Man's perspective? Because of all the Marvel characters, he's the most average person. So maybe they do something like that. I don't know. But I don't know. I do just feel like no matter what, I think Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to put the character in college. Please, no more high school Spider-Man. We have done that to death now.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be in college. And I think, maybe it's just hopeful in me, I think this movie will feel less like the John Watts trilogy. I think it's going to feel, because all the Spider-Man movies, you could kind of say they follow a certain era of the comics. I think this one's going to feel like the Stan Lee, John Romita Sr. era. I think it's going to feel more like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or the 90s cartoon. That's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So I guess before we move on from Spider-Man Brand New Day, I have this question to ask, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people have been, debating, we want street-level Spider-Man, we want more multiverse. I just want something that's good. No. I want something that isn't Iron Man. I don't want an Iron Man Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Will they? Because, there's been some rumors and rumblings. Do you think that Toby and Andrew could pop up in this one? Will they try to do No Way Home again?
I'm getting at a point where it's like I can't predict the behavior of this seemingly just strange movie making company. I mean, they're bringing Robert Downey Jr. to play Doctor Doom. Like, I can't predict anything anymore. So like with that in mind, yeah, I guess they'll be in it. What I can say, like, to be honest, like, look, I love Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. And I always am of the belief that if a movie's good, it's good. But yeah, even though it's cliche among fans of Marvel and movies to say you're sick of multiverse stuff, I am starting to really become cynical about it. Like, I am starting to go my feeling is starting to be like, not everything has to be nostalgia. Can we form new memories? Like, can we not imagine a life that is better in the future? Like, not everything. Like, let's just move on. Like, not everything needs to come back. Not everything needs to be remade. Just imagine a new future, a brand new day, if you will. Like, we can have the same characters, but like, just there's so much stuck in nostalgia. Like, the entire movie industry is based on nostalgia right now, and it's exhausting. And at a certain point, I just want to not even have a single reference to a past. like I don't want to see any of these people anymore at a certain point. Like, we're done. We got all the people back in the movies. We had everyone in the Flash, and we had everyone in No Way Home, and we had everyone, like, we saw all them again. Like, we were nostalgic for a little bit. It's fine. Like, and it's over now. Do I think that's what they're going to do? No, I think they're going to go do nostalgia.
Here's what I will say. People talk about, was the multiverse saga from Marvel a mistake? Have they done a bad job with multiverse in general? Like, the whole concept? Yes. Did they overcomplicate it? Yes. The CW Flash did a much better job of multiverse. But was it needed for Marvel after Endgame? 100%. They lost Captain America, they lost Iron Man, they lost Black Panther, they ruined Hulk, they ruined Spider-Man. Going forward, Marvel it was just everyone's favorite characters were gone. It was, the MCU was not, I had said it for years and I was right. The MCU was not going to survive with Thor, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel. Those characters weren't enough. Doctor Strange, those weren't enough. They needed big anchor characters. And X-Men and Fantastic Four was so far away. And by bringing in Toby, Andrew, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Deadpool, they brought back leaders, faces to the MCU that it desperately needed because they got rid of those characters. It was needed. And I promise you, the MCU, we talk about the MCU, how it's in kind of a rough shape right now. It's getting better, but it's in a rough shape right now. I promise you, it would have been officially dead had they not brought back those characters. It was, as much as we don't like, as much as they butchered kind of the whole concept of multiverse, it was needed.
Yeah.
They needed it after kind of a lot of mistakes they made with Endgame and post-Endgame. But look, my personal preference, we don't need multiverse to bring back Toby and Andrew. Just make Spider-Man 4. Just make Amazing Spider-Man 3. That's what we want. Do we need we didn't need a whole trilogy of frickin' Ant-Man. Like, can we just get Spider-Man 4 and Amazing Spider-Man 3? That being said, I don't think they'll be in this one because I think they need something big for Secret Wars. And I think the big pop of Secret Wars will be Toby, Andrew, and Hugh Jackman. I think that'll be the big pop. And I think just the idea of Toby and Hugh together leading a group, I think that will be the big thing. Now, would I like to see Toby and Andrew in this one? Look, I'll just be honest. You know, if we have a chance, and look, maybe it's just because I'm thinking about, we lost Kevin Conroy, we lost Val Kilmer recently. I'm kind of like, you know what? If you have the chance, just do it. If you have a good idea, just go for it, because now is the time to do it. Don't just put it off and think maybe one day we can do it, because with all this stuff, Chadwick Boseman too, we don't know. If we have the chance, just go for it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they'll be in it. I think they're saving that for Secret Wars, which is why I don't think they announced Hugh Jackman for Doomsday either, because I think they're going to save that for Secret Wars, because they really want to try to recreate the Infinity War Endgame thing.
Yeah.
And, you remember the portal scene? Remember the portal scene in Endgame? Just imagine a whole movie. You know what? Screw the portal scene. Toby and Hugh Jackman interacting together, that's more exciting than the portal scene. No offense to anyone.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. But, yeah, so I guess before we move on from Spider-Man, what do you think about... Do you think it will be more like the John Watts Spider-Man movies? Do you think... It sounds like you think it might be similar to that. Do you think it'll kind of be a fresh take? What are your thoughts about having a new director take over, like Destin, who talked about, he loves Spider-Man's humor, Peter Parker's messy life? I don't think we talked about that. What do you think of having this new director come on?
Yeah, the new director might just simply be the refreshing that it needs. Yeah, and the feeling that it might be more similar to the John Watts ones, I don't even necessarily know that I think it'll be more similar to it could be different. I just don't know if it's going to be different in a way that isn't extremely safe. Which is just, I feel like, I think that's maybe the theme of a lot of my critiques with a lot of the last few years superhero movies that I've been kind of falling off of, is just that everything is very safe. There are very few unique artistic visions in all of this. And yeah, I guess one thing that, speaking of nostalgia, if I'm taking that cynicism and fueling it into something
quick,
that might
I would just maybe counter, I don't think we've been safe enough. I think maybe one of the problems is we're just getting flooded with these new characters nobody cares about. There's a reason why Spider-Man's up here and Doctor Strange is down here.
Yeah, but I don't consider a different character to be, that's not experimental. It's having a character that isn't a recognizable IP. From a movie executive standpoint, that is less safe because it's not as recognizable of an IP. But that, to me, the bar on that is so low. That's just a low bar. That having a different character is enough to be considered not safe. Speaking of the nostalgia, if I'm fueling the cynicism about the over nostalging of everything, I could see it working for me in the sense that if what I'm really perhaps what I am really wishing for in a Spider-Man movie is informed by that a little bit. And in that case, like, we're seeing, and let's not even open this can of worms yet, but with the Superman movie, there's clearly like, and maybe it's a massive failure at doing so, but there's clearly like inspiration from a style of a movie that is in the past. And if I were to imagine the Spider-Man version of that, it might be, we want this to feel like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man ones or something like that. That might be that version of that, where it's like we're not just having the characters in it, we're actually going to make it feel like that. And then also with this Fantastic Four First Steps movie, that's similar, where it's like we're capturing a feel of a superhero time that has passed, which is a different kind of nostalgia than just pointing and looking at the characters that you've seen before and being like, I know that guy. So I would be more in favor of, like, let's do less. If we have to pick a type of nostalgia, I would be in favor of doing less of the, hey, look, it's that guy. Hey, it's that reference. I get that reference. Yeah, that actor. Or even that character to some extent. But yeah, pointing and just going like, I get that reference. And less of that and more like an abstract stylistic homage where everything might feel new, but in the back of your head, you're like, this feels like Sam Raimi Spider-Man is back, even though it's a different director and it's, 20 years later.
One franchise I think does a great job with that is the video games. Mm-hmm. Like the video games, like it doesn't, like some days I can feel like, man, this feels like Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Sometimes I play it feels like the 90s cartoons. Some days it feels like Mark Webb's movies. Like that video game series, which I love so much, does a great job of like doing new stuff, but like it still feels like the character we know and love.
Yes. Video games are great at doing stuff like that. They have a flexibility in that. But, I don't have anywhere that thought is going. It's just, if I'm not being, sort of candid with my, these sort of more cynical takes on the progression of things and my changing attitudes about it. And if I'm just simply sitting here going like, yeah, that would be cool, or this would be cool, it'd be less of a podcast. So I think it's a little more interesting if I'm expressing to perhaps a broader audience of superhero films that you can expect more from it. You can like new things. It is possible for you to like something that is not just what you liked when you were 7 years old. You can like a new thing, even if you're 31 or 81. You can like a new thing and a new style of something. But yes.
Yes, and the Spider-Man video games have shown that.
Yes.
So has Spider-Verse. But, the first movie has a lot of Peter Parker. That's where you get, that character versus, like, the second one's very much Miles Morales, so it's hard to compare that one. But, yeah, the video games have done a great job with that.
Yeah, definitely.